Hello, learners. Bonjour, Hosapono, and welcome to Learn French with Likiza. Today, it's a different thing we are doing. I have a guest, and I'll just let the guest introduce herself. Yeah.
Ok, bonjour, je m'appelle Vanessa, je viens du Kenya et j'habite en France et je travaille comme une assistante de langue et c'est ma deuxième année comme une assistante de langue.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Actually, for those who are still learning French, Vanessa is a Kenyan student. That's what she said. And she's working as a language assistant in France. And this is the reason why I would like to interview her today. It's because I want for the learners to get to know the importance of learning a language, particularly French, and then maybe what's the benefit of living in France, because most of the time we focus so much on teaching a language, and you have some students, like many students, not even some, have that question in mind that if I learn this language, what next? So, Vanessa, I'm just looking at the question I want to ask you. Why did you choose to study French in campus?
Personally, I've always had a passion for languages and it's something that no one expected that I would do because in Kenya, so many people have the perception that languages get you nowhere. But language is what got me in France. Me learning French, me speaking French got me to where I am today. So I chose to learn French because I have a passion in communicating with others because everyone knows communication is key for everything. And if you cannot communicate with someone, then you're not headed anywhere. What happens one day when you get the opportunity to go to a different country and you have no knowledge of the language of that country? What happens then? So for me, I was passionate about French, the culture, the language itself, and France in particular. So this is why I chose to do French.
So much. And how did you get the chance to go to France? Yeah.
The French embassy in Kenya has this program called the English language assistant, and I heard about it through a friend who was in my class in university. She applied for the program. She got the post, but due to COVID and other circumstances, she was not able to go that particular year. So after I had completed my university studies, I decided that I would apply for the program, which was very convenient because all you need to do is have a at least a DELF B1 certificate. You should be 18 to 35 years old and at least at your third year of university or in any educational institution.
And how has your experience been like living in France so far? Where exactly are you based in France?
Initially, that is last year, I was placed in the Academy of Nantes, but I was living in a town called La Roche-sur-Yon. And I ended up renewing for this program for a different year. So I am currently in Tours, which is a big city. Uh, yeah, so far my experience has been interesting because initially last year I ended up having 6 different roommates who came from different parts of the world. I had a Mexican housemate, Mexican housemate, a Spanish housemate, an Indian housemate, a guy who came from USA, a girl from Australia, and I think there was a girl who came from UK. So the connecting factor between all of us was the language. So language is everything. And it was an interesting experience because I got to learn about different cultures. You know, with that, you get to see different cuisines, you get to hear different accents of the world. And it's very interesting how here in France, French people are, in my opinion, are very intimidated about speaking French because they feel like their accent is not good enough. But believe you me, everyone in the world has a different accent. Like once upon a time, someone told me, oh, Kenyans have a particular English accent. And I was like, how do we have an accent? Then after interacting with these people, I was like, truly, everyone in the world has a different accent. Even when it comes to French people have their own accent, Senegalese people have their own accent, Congolese people have their own accent. So, in terms of my experience, it's been great so far. There were days that were challenging. The weather was something very new for me because winter was very hard. But yeah, we survived. It's the experience that counts.
Now that you are learning a foreign language or have just completed your language course, what next? Meet Lucy, a linguist and modern foreign languages teacher from the UK who runs the Talking Ticket blog. With a wealth of knowledge from her own journey learning different languages, teaching and living abroad in various countries in Western Europe, Lucy brings you lots of useful content on the Talking Ticket blog. From travel and restaurant recommendations on holiday in select European destinations, to additional language learning, to tips on working abroad, and just about any language-related information, www.thetalkingticket.blog ensures that you unlock all the possibilities your new language can afford you. Follow on Facebook as The Talking Ticket and on Twitter at Talking Ticket Today and get informed.
Much for that. And
Yeah.
just have another question also. Why do you think people should be open-minded? More people should be open-minded to learning French and foreign languages in general. Yeah.
Because take for instance in Europe, the job market here is great. Let me begin with that. Like, for instance, for countries like, let's not even talk about France at the moment. Let's talk about Germany. For countries like Germany, they offer opportunities for people to come and work in Germany. In France, there are also so many job opportunities. There are so many study opportunities. Like they offer you scholarships, they offer you like totally fully funded. So there's a lot of opportunities that come with being abroad. And furthermore, it opens your perspective on life and a lot of things because how things work here is not how things work back home. So there's a certain open-mindedness that comes with it. And there's no limit. There's no limit to what you could expect because there are so many opportunities and you could never go wrong with languages.
And the most interesting question I saved for last, what are the cultural differences that you've experienced in France currently, just being in France? How long have you been in France so far now?
I've been in France from last year, October, though I did come to Kenya for like 3 months, from July to September, then I came back. Yeah. So in terms of cultural differences, like I came to realize French people really prioritize lunch hour. Like for me, it was crazy because where I work, I have a lunch break from 11:30 to 1:30. I was like, I was so shocked.
It's not Kenyan
I
at
thought
all.
that maybe it was,
Yeah.
I actually thought it was a mishap or something of the sort, but I was shocked. These people really prioritize their eating time because in Kenya, you have like 30 minutes, a few minutes. Some people don't even get time for lunch. So for me, I was shocked. I was literally shocked.
Yeah.
Something else is that when it comes to food, most of them, it's like the cheese and bread culture. Like bread is always in their meals. And the dinners are very long. Like they do the 3-course meal thing and whatever. For us, I don't think it's really a privilege. It's not a privilege that everyone has to do like an entree, the starter itself, and a dessert. For here, you just have to go with that. That is the norm.
Yeah.
So normally I'd be at work and it's during lunch hour. You see someone has a whole entree, it was something interesting for me.
Yeah.
And something else is that here in France, on Wednesdays, kids don't go to school. Apparently, it's someone once told me that it's the time to relax. I was like, wow. I was like, Kenyan kids have Monday to Saturday, so
Yeah.
I don't know about this relaxing on Wednesdays. It
Uh-huh.
does not add up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it's been really interesting because one time I had this colleague who invited me for lunch, and we did l'apéro. So that's the period where you have the drinks and you do a little bit of snacking and stuff like that. Then eventually we had the main meal. And these people here are very big on salads. I think in Kenya, there are not very many people who are vegetarians. I think most of us just like meat.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the difference. So I came here and there was a lot of salads, and I was like, wow. Wow. And it's a bit funny because when you're not very familiar with people, sometimes it's a bit hard to reject stuff. And I equally have a friend who once went for dinner, and what was being served was steak. So you know the concept of the medium steak, rare steak, or yeah. So he was asked, what's gonna be your preference? He's like, oh, I'll have it anyway. I'm comfortable with whatever you choose to give me. So when the steak got there, it was barely cooked. Oh my God. So I asked my friend, so how did you go about it? He was like, oh, I just had to eat it. I didn't have much of a choice. So yeah, in my head, I was like, those moments when you're back home and you're like, oh, it's like when you're preparing the meat and then you're like, oh, it's still bloody. I can't, this is not well cooked. And that's what you're being served. So yeah, it's crazy for me.
Yeah. And what about l'hébergement, the accommodation? Are there cultural differences in France?
Oh yeah. Here we have what is called colocation. That entails you get a house, you get to rent a house, and you rent a house and you find that you have other roommates. So you might be in a house with total strangers and it's completely normal. And also the houses here, they come with furniture. Most of them come with furniture, like back home. So
Yeah.
that has been a difference. Yeah.
And about transport, means of transport.
Yeah, here, generally in France, there's the bus, there's the tram, there's the metro. Yeah. Yeah, there's that. But okay, in my city, I only have the bus and the tram. And the transport system is very efficient. Like it's rarely ever delayed, except when there are strikes, because French people are big on strikes. Oh God, I thought Kenyans could strike. Kenyan teachers have got nothing on French people. Because yeah, but anyway, the transport system is very reliable. You can get a monthly bus card, you can get an annual bus card, but it's very reliable. Yeah.
So for someone who's coming to France for the first time, sorry, did you have something else to say?
No, that was it.
For someone who's coming to France for the very first time, not necessarily coming to work as an assistant long, what would you advise them to be prepared for? What can they be prepared for when they're coming to France in terms of loton, maybe clothing and all that stuff? Just what can they be prepared for?
Yeah, normally first things first, when you're coming to France as a language assistant, a student, or whatever case that is bringing you to France, it's always a good idea to be in contact with people who have been in France before. Because personally, for me, that's what I did. I had a friend whom I always consulted with. you need to, if possible, find people in your region, the region that you're going to, because there are Kenyan WhatsApp groups for students in France for language assistance, or for this year, the previous year, those groups exist. And if anyone would probably like to get in contact with these people, you can maybe find a way that we can link them up with these people. But it's a good idea to have someone in contact who can advise you to maybe carry a certain clothes. When you get there, make sure you buy a transport card, because if you enter any means of transport without paying for transportation, you will be fined, and you will be fined like 100 euros, which is probably 16,000. So depending on the city you are, make sure when you get here, because things here are very organized, you will not get, it's not likely that you will get lost. If your French is good enough, yeah, when you get to the airport, you just need to know where you're headed to. There are certain apps you can use to get directions. There's City Mapper. If you're in Paris, you can equally use Google Maps. But best advice, always have a transport ticket with you, because that can really ruin your day. And if you're going to a far place and you land at most likely CDG airport, it's always a good idea to take the train from the airport, because when I first got to France, I honestly wish someone would have told me this, because I made a very big mistake of booking a train that was not in the airport, because there's a train station in the airport, which is easier to connect with. So I had two 23 kg bags, suitcases, a backpack, a small handbag, and I went to the Paris metro, and it was crazy. Because you can imagine the places where there are no escalators, now it's stairs. I was telling my friends that if by any chance you ever notice I have biceps, I gained them at the stairs of the Paris metro, because I honestly wish someone would have told me that. It is not a good idea to book, if you know you're going far and you have a lot of luggage, book a train that is within the airport, because anything else is a call for chaos. I've been there, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone else.
This is great advice from Vanessa, who has been in France. And I just want to mention something, because I didn't want to make it about me when we started. So for those who are watching, I worked with Vanessa at Alliance Française de Montpellier. So we worked on the library, which is the bibliothèque, and we were categorizing actually French books with her. So that's how I got to know Vanessa. Thank you so much for your time, Vanessa. I really appreciate you just sitting down and talking to me about French life. I hope it's going to help someone who's watching, someone who's learning the language. Yeah, and until next time, à bientôt.